Hey, what is up, everyone? So, something I've been thinking about since the release of Sea of Thieves Season 15 last week is that I feel like Sea of Thieves doesn't do a good enough job supporting features that they add into the game. Now, some people are probably going to automatically get mad at me about this because you could never say anything bad about the game, and, they have tons of things they're doing, and I'm not questioning that they have lots of stuff they're working on, but I also think that it is valid to say that there are things that are already in the game that just don't feel like they've been supported that well. So for an example of something that's been recently added that I was kind of hoping we would see updates to with Season 15 is with disguises. So disguises were one of the big things added with Season 14 of Sea of Thieves, and honestly, there's a lot that could be done with them. And I think you could keep updating them every season. Probably wouldn't be that difficult to do, in my opinion. I don't know everything that goes into making disguises, but it seems like you just have the basic disguise mechanic, and then you just add the chest type on top of that. So with Season 15, I thought potentially we would get some new disguises to go along with those Hunter's Call chests, and then maybe you could tie those to some of the new Hunter's Call combinations that we just got for the season. Whether it's, selling a certain amount of Hunter's Call treasure, or maybe defeating a certain amount of Ancient Megalodons, or something like that. Could have been whatever, honestly, but that would have been a nice thing to be able to have another thing to progress towards. So I think the disguises are a really great thing to really have a nice cool reward that's actually, gives you some kind of value within the game. And that's not just purely cosmetic based. It actually can be strategically used for certain things. And it just doesn't seem like it's going to be supported anymore, which is very disappointing because you could easily make a disguise for one of the Hunter's Call chests, and then that would go really well with the season. Other stuff that I've noticed that hasn't really been that well supported is, say, the Captaincy decorations. Look at the last time we got new Captaincy decorations. The last time we got new ship decorations was all the way back in Season 8 when we got these Obsidian Bone Crusher cosmetics, as well as the Legendary Captain cosmetics that were for the Servant of Flame and the Guardians of Fortune factions. So we haven't seen any new ship decorations since then, and it just makes me feel like we aren't really seeing some of these features that are meant to be big things supported. For example, with these decorations, there really isn't that many to choose from, and I don't really change them that much because really what we have is kind of what you like already. There hasn't been anything added in years, many, many years. I'm worried that we're going to have the same problem with, say, the disguises, or maybe even the blowpipe. There's lots of room for the blowpipe to become a very versatile tool for us to use, and they could keep expanding it with different types of darts for us to have. But I kind of wonder, will we ever see those new types of darts, or is it always going to just be focused on whatever is going to be done for the 3 months that we have that season? Part of the reason I bring this up is a lot of people here that are excited about Season 15 are excited because they really love the Hunter's Call, and they want to see lots of great stuff added to that. And I do too. I want to see the Hunter's Call get expanded and improved upon, like we've talked about in many videos in the past. However, based off Rare's track record with some of these other smaller features, which would be easier to implement, how likely do we see that after this season that they just keep updating the Hunter's Call and keep expanding with new stuff? I don't really see that being very likely. I don't think we'll see, a new Hunter's Call voyage, or new sea monsters, or updates to cooking and stuff like that. Stuff that we've talked about that would be great for the Hunter's Call. I don't think we'll see any of those, just based off how they kind of focus on something for a season and then move on. Part of that is just because Sea of Thieves is such a big game that it's really hard to work on everything at once, and I understand that. So they kind of are going up by the approach of, let's heavily focus on one thing for a couple months and then move on to the next thing. But then they create some really cool stuff, like with the disguises that we talked about, which was for Season 14, or with Captaincy back in Season 7, and then after those introductions, nothing really happens with them. I think another example of a feature that they created and they put a lot of effort into that they've kind of just left and haven't really done anything with is with the guilds. So the guilds were a big thing for Season 10. It was supposed to be the main thing for Season 10 before all the huge delays and stuff. The delays may have potentially been because of the guild itself, and there wasn't really anything done with it. If you think about it, guilds, the only real benefit of guilds is that you can have a lot of different ship presets set up that your friends can use. There's nothing really much else going on with guilds except for the emissary ledger, which is nice, But the problem is the emissary ledger is reliant on you having a good amount of people that are working to also help with that emissary ledger. If you play mostly solo or you have a guild that's not really, supporting that and contributing to that guild emissary value, then it's just not really doing anything. So there's a lot that they could have done with guilds as well. We talked about having like private servers where you could have your guild all be in the same server and you could do like go on adventures together or fight each other with PvP ships and stuff, or go and fight a ghost fleet or a skeleton fleet with all your guild ships all together. There's lots you could have done with guilds and like really expand that. Even within like the adventure mode, like the real world, you don't have to do just private servers. There's other stuff you can do with guilds. But it's just another thing that they put a lot of effort into, and then nothing happened afterwards. There's other obvious examples too, like adventures. Obviously, adventures were a big thing, and those were officially canceled. This other stuff is not like officially canceled. They can always come back to it. But like adventures was something that was officially canceled. Mysteries, I think, are safe to say that those are officially canceled, even though they haven't outright said that they're not doing them anymore. They've done a little bit better job with the ship trinkets instead of the decorations, so we still get new trinkets every season, but not that many, to be honest. Like for this season, we got 2 trinkets in here, and I think there's a few other trinkets from the actual Hunter's Call trading company that you can go to them that aren't in this shop. So there's a few of those there. The trinkets are probably the best supported thing out of all the ship decoration stuff that they've done in the last few years. But I just think there's a lot of things in Sea of Thieves that we've been waiting for updates and expansion upon that just aren't coming and probably will never come. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see an expansion to disguises with, say, Hunter's Call chest being a disguise. I'd love to see like a storage crate or like other types of crates being disguises. I think there's a lot you could do with the disguises and make it so that basically any new treasure type that you add in the future could be a disguise, and then have combinations that are tied to the new updates in the game to unlock that. And I think that'd be another nice way of progression in the game and keep interested in, trying to unlock stuff still. One last abandoned feature that I'd like to mention in this video before we end is Lorena and the Bilge Rats. The Bilge Rats had such great potential, and then they tried to do this whole stuff with, Duke and the whole thing with the adventures and Dark Breath and stuff, which I found interesting, but then they never went anywhere with that really, except for small bits of like lore here and there that haven't really had much of an impact. I don't really know what the Bilge Rats are for anymore. Like you can get your monthly levels from here, you can trade into doubloons for gold, and then if you haven't already gotten them, you can get your barrel hide emote as well as the rolling dice emote, which honestly could just be in the clothing shop with the vanity stuff. Honestly, it doesn't really need to be here. I just don't really understand the point of the Bilge Rats anymore. The Bilge Rats could have been really cool. They could have had their own like black market shop. We could have really put value in the doubloon system. That's another feature that was kind of abandoned in the sense that like the doubloons could have been a really cool thing. That's like this alternate currency in the game that's a little bit harder to get. So you could have had different cosmetics outside of the gold cosmetics. Just nothing really happened with any of this stuff. And I feel like there's lots of potential with all of these things to, keep continuing working on and stuff. They could have done something with the Bilge Rats where like each time you go to them, they had different cosmetics up for grabs. So you kind of wanted to check them often, and maybe some of the cosmetics are more rare sightings, kind of like the Shrouded Ghost, in the sense that like some of the cosmetics that would be available from the Bilge Rats are like very rare to see. Some of them are more common. Some of them are like mildly rare. So it would be something that you want to check often, and it kind of make things a little bit more dynamic, because it does kind of get boring looking at the shops and it's just the same stuff every time. If it's always available, you don't really have a reason to go and buy them. But if it's something that is changing often, it makes you want to check and potentially grab some stuff. But those are my thoughts on just not supporting features inside of Sea of Thieves. I'm not trying to really nitpick with Sea of Thieves, but I was really hoping that we would see more disguises added in the future with Season 15 and beyond. Doesn't seem like that's coming. Maybe in the future we will get expansions to those. But I'd love to hear in the comments below, what other features do you like in Sea of Thieves that need some love, haven't really been touched in a long time, and that maybe I didn't cover in this video? Well, that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed, it'd be great if you hit the like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.